Welcome to All That Chat, Henry and Henry.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
It may get confusing, so should I just address you by your surnames, or are we the Henrys plural?
I typically go by Shields in the group for ease of, because there's two Henrys. Yeah, so Henry and Shields.
As I said, there's no fun nicknames or anything.
No.
We should come up with more.
We should. I'm just Shields.
So usually my first question is, have your paths ever crossed before? But you've been working together for, was it 18 years now?
Is it that long?
Was it 2008 was the first?
Yeah.
I wasn't in until 2009. I think.
Yes,
I was
yes.
17.
Yeah.
So I've lied, I'm sorry, it's a good start.
We're getting to the age now where I think we've known each other slightly longer than we didn't know each other.
Yeah, that's
which
weird,
is an
isn't it?
interesting thing. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Is it too long now? We're still liking each other.
Oh, great. Have a good time.
Everyone gets on very well.
Make your way to those respective locations that are on the call.
What's happening?
We're
That's
battling
a
it.
call now telling us to come and do this interview.
I think we're good, we're doing it.
Yep.
So talk me through how Mischief first began.
Mischief first began as an improv troupe, really. I mean, that was kind of where we started. We really enjoyed doing improv when we were at Lambda, and so we sort of thought, oh, it would be cool to do some improv shows. So we did a show at the Edinburgh Festival. We did many improv shows at the Edinburgh Festival. I think we did about 8 years at the Edinburgh Festival overall, and lots of other London Fringe improv gigs kind of while we were training. It wasn't something I think at the time Lambda were particularly up for. I think they were like, oh no, you should be serious and do your training. You should be going off doing comedy in sort of crazy rooms above pubs and things. But I think it was sort of it was amazing, and we learnt tons. And I think then when we graduated the other end of drama school, we were kind of in a good position to start writing comedy, which is what we did.
And how long into it did Play That Goes Wrong start?
Play That Goes Wrong we wrote in 2012, which is, I was in the year below Hen and our co-writer John at Lambda, and 2012 I graduated and we all moved in together in a flat in Chiswick, and we were all working very dreary jobs. I was working in a pub, Hen was at Gourmet Burger Kitchen, John was working in a call centre. And so it was sort of something to keep us sane. We'd come home at night after doing our long shifts and sit and write this little comedy play of ours. Something to do, really, and most of it was written at sort of midnight, 1 a.m. and we brought it into the guys, and they liked it enough that we put it on. And that's how it happened.
And it kind of exploded, didn't it? So it started it was one of the pub theatres in Islington.
The Old
Red
Line,
Line, yeah. And I was like there recently, and they've still got it, pride of display. It started here.
Yeah.
But did it? Was there straight away? Did you get that sense that we're onto something special here? Was the reaction straight away? Oh, this could go big.
I mean, we didn't have big audiences in the first run, but I think the audiences who did come enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so I think we thought it had potential, but we didn't obviously have any idea that it would go on to run for years in the West End. I thought we thought, well, we might come back to the Old Red Line next year, which we did in the March, and then it managed to transfer to Trafalgar Studios, the small space there, which isn't there anymore, but it was like a 100-seat studio, which is now the back of the stalls of the main theatre. But So we thought maybe that's how far it would go, but no, it's kept surprising us ever since, really.
I mean, you've taken over the world pretty much, literally world domination.
I don't know how many countries is it in now. Do you know?
Mischief shows have been over 50 countries now, yeah.
50 countries.
Overall, lots of that is many countries have had play, but lots of the other titles have been overseas as well. Comedy About Bank Robbery, Grown Ups, Mind Mangler, Peter Pan Goes Wrong.
How many of them do you get to see yourself? I mean, I assume you can't see every single production that's ever done around the world.
Very few of the foreign productions.
Yes.
You and John went to Russia.
Yes, but that was many years ago. But we saw that one. We saw a production of Play That Goes Wrong in Norway, in Røros, and
that was great.
Little tiny sort of snow-topped village.
And I got to go and see Peter Pan Goes Wrong there. Did you go to Peter Pan?
I didn't see it in Norway, no.
I saw Peter Pan in Norway was amazing. Yeah.
That's good. And I really want to go and see, because we have these partners in Mexico who've done 3 of our shows now. They've done Play and Peter Pan and Mind Mangler most recently. So I really want to go to Mexico City and see a couple of their productions. That would be great. We've seen lots of stuff in Paris. We've seen Budapest. We've seen Peter Pan Goes Wrong in Canada. So a bunch of different places.
I'm going to see Good Luck Studio in Vienna in November. It's exciting. The first international production of that show.
Do you have to work on changing it when it goes to a different country, like change some of the humour or the lines, or works for an international audience, or is it pretty similar?
It depends on whether it's a direct translation or whether it's being done in English. Sometimes it is, and we make little adjustments here and there. I mean, when we took the shows to Broadway, we changed things like they didn't understand what white spirit was, so that became paint thinner, things like that. But if it's being translated into another language, the translator has to take a lot of license often, because lots of jokes just do not work in a different language, but especially when you're dealing with wordplay, it just doesn't work at all.
So how do you come up with your ideas? Is it always a collaborative effort, or does one of you have it and then you bounce it around with the other?
Maybe like a minute, just we sort of talk about things for a long time, quite often before we sort of start writing. Quite often things start kind of as discussions backstage. We're doing a show or whatever, we're like, oh, that's a good idea, whatever. It starts as an idea, and then maybe 6 months later when we actually sit down to write something, we're like, oh yes, what was that thing?
Yeah.
And then it comes from that. I think Spies, there were a few different influences. For The Play That Goes Wrong, Michael Green was a big influence in his course acting plays. So yeah, a few different things.
When you're writing together, are you still able to surprise each other, or do you know exactly what will make the other person laugh?
Ooh, that's interesting.
I don't think those are mutually exclusive, right? I think if you're making the other person laugh, you are probably surprised.
Yeah, right.
But,
Definitely. I mean, you make me laugh a lot in the writing room.
Likewise.
Funny guy.
Yeah, right. No, it's always fun, I think, and
I think we bring different things to it. Like, that's the point, isn't it? You, me, and John, when we're in the writing room together, we each bring a different element. So we definitely entertain each other a lot. If it got to the point where I could just guess what you were going to write, then we wouldn't need to be there. Yeah.
I think it's sort of like it's good, like if you have something in the room and it makes all three of us laugh. We tend to be quite confident. Then I think we're just like, oh yeah, it probably is quite funny, and I think it's good to. Yeah, I think writing comedy in a sort of not on your own is really good, because I think you just sort of that you're mimicking the process of what it is to watch it live, right? You're sort of there's a sense of atmosphere in the room, and you're sort of like what kind of works and what doesn't. I think is comes to the fore nice and quickly, doesn't it? When you're kind of bouncing off each other. And we're always quite often we're sort of improvising, sort of half improvising scenes.
Yeah, you sort of pitch jokes in character to each other quite a lot. Just say, well, if you said this and then this, you do a little bit that you've got in your head, and then try and make the other person laugh.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Is it quite a different process writing a show like Comedy About Spies to one of your Goes Wrong shows?
It's very different in that the language of comedy is completely different between those two shows. The Goes Wrong shows are specifically about a group of actors putting on a show, and it's fully immersive, so the audience are there in the room with you and you are interacting with them, and it's all supposed to be happening as in that moment. The Comedy About shows, the two of them, are completely fourth wall, much more a standard comedy. It's got jokes in, it's got wordplay, slapstick, all kinds of more typical things. So it's a very different writing process. And these shows also tend to have a lot more story beats in the middle, a lot more character development and arcs and things going on, so a lot more time spent on that as well. So
with the Comedy About Spies, obviously that's what we're here to talk about, what is the show about, and who do you both play within the story?
It's set in London in the 1960s. It's a Cold War spy, sort of espionage-based farce, I suppose you'd say. But it's not just a farce, there's lots of other forms of comedy in it, I think. It's sort of a sort of, I guess, an ensemble character comedy, you'd also sort of say. And the story is basically that there's a rogue agent with MI6 who is trying to pass off secret documents to a Russian counterpart, and two CIA agents arrive in London to try and intercept this handover. And then there's a holiday-making British couple, Bernard and Rosemary, Bernard, who Henry Shields plays, and they, through a series of misunderstandings and incorrectly bugged rooms, they end up getting embroiled in the sort of spy caper. That's the basic story. And I play Douglas, who is an actor who's got an audition to be James Bond in the first ever Bond film, Dr. No. And he's sort of prepping for his audition, and so some of his storyline and him practicing his lines and all that kind of stuff plays a part in the misunderstandings.
I mean, I saw it last year. I've seen most of the Mischief shows. I think it's my favourite.
Is it?
Thank you.
I think I said this. Last year. I had your past collaborator Pendula on the podcast, and I said to him, I was talking about the show. It was about a week after I'd seen it, and it's the only time ever that I've been begging for the interval. just so I could compose myself. I had tears and like just streaming down my face. I could not breathe. And I was like, for the love of God, when's the interval happening? I need to get myself back.
So it sounds like you sort of suffered quite horribly. I'm sorry.
Yes, it was a terrible show. My stars outside mean nothing. But it's so, because it's like I say, you feel like maybe, oh, you've seen this if you know what to expect, but you always have the ability to surprise. And Comedy About Spies, there's so many good sequences.
Thanks, yeah, I like to think so. What I particularly like about this show, and I think this often when we're doing it, is that there's a point in Act 1, sort of 55 minutes in, where you go, you could end there. It's, I don't want to give away, but it's one of the bare skins, right? You go, that's a really big laugh, you could end Act 1 there. And then it goes on for another 10 minutes, and it spirals, it goes up like 3 more notches, which I think is just great. It's just like we've gone so much further than we needed to go, and I'm proud of us for doing that. And it really does punish you as an audience until like you will laugh so much that you will beg for it to end.
I think we've been really fortunate with the amount of time we've had, because we rotate over a long time, but also when we workshopped it, we had a 6-week workshop, which is really kind of a luxury. You rarely sort of get that. And then we had a 5-week rehearsal process at North Coward and another rehearsal process here. So there's been lots and lots of time to just keep developing all the little strands and the little details and the callbacks and making sure everything comes back in a satisfactory way, because there's just lots. It's really packed in, isn't it? I think so. There's lots of funny stuff and different little bits and cool little story details and things that we're always trying to sort of just optimise, and that's what we've been doing this week in art. So during our previews, just making tweaks and changes. So yeah, hopefully it's in a good place.
And I've just watched a clip of it, and they described the set as the Battenberg set, which I think is a brilliant name. Like, when you get that first set, that set reveal, it's pretty impressive, and it does a lot. I mean, does it come with extra challenges having a set like that, with like it's 4 separate rooms and they're tied together, and obviously the timing is crucial?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like sort of like 2 plays in a way. Like that is its own little play, and then there's sort of everything else. And like in terms of the sort of the time we spent rehearsing it, like that's a huge amount of it, because it is quite counterintuitive to perform, because you're in it's you know, it's a series of different rooms, so you're sort of in your room, but your cue is in another room, and but you can't see what's going on. So it's very unusual in that sense. We got used to it now, but I think we were very used to just like doing a play on one set and everybody's there, and you're sort of you're doing what's in your room, but there's other stuff going on that you're having to be in sync with but not aware of. So all of that stuff is it's quite complicated to get your head around from an acting perspective. But yeah, no, I think it's a really, really fun routine where we talked about sort of like, well, what, you know, we've sort of done a farce in a room. How could we, you know, how could we expand that? Well, we'll do several rooms at once, I suppose.
Yeah, we had the idea, I can't remember, at some point during the writing process, God, that would be a really impressive thing if we managed to put it on. And then I think we did 30, 40 different drafts of that scene.
Yeah, so many.
To get it to where it is, because it was so complicated. We had to build got my partner Ellie to build a cardboard, so a mini cardboard version of the scene, like the cut-out doll's house thing, so we could move little pieces around and go, okay, that person's gone there, so that moves there. And it's a Rubik's Cube of a scene, and it lasts about 25 minutes, but it probably took more than half of the writing time of the entire show, I think, was spent on that section.
Yeah.
When you're rewriting it so much, do you ever lose the joy? Because obviously the most important thing is to make people smile and laugh in the show like this. And when you're there rewriting, do you ever feel like, for God's sake, let it end, leave it, this is fine?
Well,
I think it's more of an investment, I think. Like, it's not always easy. A lot of the time it is really fun, and we're just having a great time. You do it for the joy of creating something is really fun. And laughing, being in the writing room and just making each other laugh is a great experience. But of course there are a lot of times when can just be a bit of a slog, and you're in the weeds of like, we just have to make this make sense, we have to move these things around, and it's much more like solving a very, very difficult crossword. You know, it's much less fun. Although I like crosswords.
There's different phases of it. There's the sort of more fun, bouncy, creative phase of like, just chuck in all the ideas.
Yeah.
And then there's the sort of going through and being like, oh no, we would have to maybe simplify that or change that. Or you kind of, quite often with faster routines, you kind of got thing A happens, then thing B, and you've got thing C. But then thing A, you're doing things C needs to happen before thing A can happen, so you get a bit of a loop, and you're like, we're going to have to rearrange. It just gets quite fiddly. And with the, I mean, like I don't know, yeah, like with that we kind of kept going over it. I think we went through a really long process of like I think it was very hard to convey what it was in the writing stage and to get people to imagine it. That's kind of where the cardboard model came in. It then became a really difficult practical thing because it was such a big build. I had quite a lot of doubt post the workshop whether it was even going to work. I was like, oh fuck, is this going to be just such a problem? Because we've got like sightline problems, and we couldn't move it around. And there was all this conversation about, is it going to truck down stage, is it not? And then it couldn't. And then it's like, oh, is it going to be too far away? So there was a lot of kind of just like, we weren't, you know, I said, we weren't sure that it was going to work. But we're glad that it did in the end.
But like I said, yeah, it's an investment. You put all of that work in, and you have to have a huge amount of trust and faith in the process.
Yes.
And the reason you do all the difficult stuff is because now we get to put it on, and it's very, very rewarding to see 1,500 people laughing. And I really do think that scene in particular, I think it's one of the best pieces of farce that's been staged. I can't think of something more ambitious and complex and I think funny than that.
I mean, I was like that opening moment as well, which you did on Raw Variety a couple of years ago as well, with all the letters.
Yeah.
That is genius. It's just, I don't know how a brain even works like that to do that. It's relentless. It doesn't ever stop. You're like, give me a breath, give me a beat, just to acknowledge that. No, you can't even acknowledge the last one. The next one's there for you. It's insane. It's so brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, again, that's from such a simple idea. The idea of a code name being a letter, which is in Bond, and I think the real head of it, MI6, is called C, right?
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
We won't ask what that stands for.
It stands for control, right?
I was going to say something else.
I see. Yeah.
That's a very different Bond. Bondage.
Yeah.
No, and so just started from that idea really. We were like, oh yeah, how many of these bad letter jokes could we do? And so we put them all in, and we ended up cutting a bunch and trying new ones, and that's it's all refinement, isn't it?
There was a point in the writing of that I think it is a good example of why the things we do, I think, work. And it's, John Cleese says that thing about how he says that creative genius doesn't mean you just have to be a genius. The people who are really, really successful in creative geniuses, I'm completely paraphrasing what he says, but they tend to be the people who it gets to 5 o'clock and they stay for an extra hour after everyone else has gone home. That's what makes the difference. That's what makes something really good, is that you just go that little bit further than you actually need to. And I remember during the writing of that, there was a point where it was going well, and it was during the workshop, and we were all enjoying it, but then we came in early one day to be like, we can find more jokes in this. We can do one more session to just add 10 more letter-based jokes and just shove everything in that we possibly can. And I think it got a lot better just from that extra session that we didn't really need to do.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, no, it's good always to, I think, to kind of... It's a weird thing, I think, as well, particularly in theatre and particularly with a big show, is that sort of thing of like, let's try and just get that a little bit better, because there's definitely always lots of people who, for completely fair reasons, are quite keen to be like, let's get the show locked now, let's get it all, let's make sure everyone knows what they're doing, because it's just, it's a normal, we've found in this show, like if you make a small change, we always talk about it being a bit of a house of cards, because you change one thing over here and it affects this, and oh shit, that affects that, and that affects that, and before you know it, you're changing 10 things rather than just changing one thing. And so that makes it, I think, sometimes trickier to be like, well, let's just go and make this change. But we try to sort of keep pushing forward to just do those little changes, even though just small things. And I think the team are really behind us in that, but I think it's also, it can be, I think, stressful in those later stages. So it's a tricky thing.
And is it harder that you're acting as well? So you're not just writing it, you're starring in it. Is it hard to separate, and sometimes you just want to sit back and watch the show rather than be in it, so you can work on what needs to be worked on?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it is good to watch it sometimes. We do show watches, but you also get a good sense from the stage as well of how things. It's a different perspective, isn't it? I think of how it's playing and stuff. So I think it's useful to watch it, but also be in it for the writing as well, I would say.
Yeah. It's often during the show, I'm thinking of, it's useful to be able to be right in the middle of it and go, okay, here's a new joke. Like, I can see, because I'm right here, it's much easier for the brain to chuck up new ideas and go, oh, we could do this, or we could just move that there. So it really helps the development process in that, being right in the thick of it the whole time. But I do sometimes wish I could watch the show. I've seen it once when Matt my cover did a show last year. And I really enjoyed it. So, this is such a great show, but I've only the once. So one day I'll see it again.
Well, what happens when you leave a show and another cast takes over, like Play It Goes Wrong?
Yeah.
Like Henry, you were at the recent Play It Goes Wrong gala. Is it hard for you to sit there and watch someone else do the role that you've done, and sometimes you want to go backstage after and give them notes?
No, I don't think it is hard. I mean, with Play, like, we've done, this is the 13th cast, so it's really, really regular now to be like, oh yeah, there's a new team coming in. And I think, I think we love that show, but we've probably done close to 1,000 performances of that show, so I think it's sort of, I think there's sort of, absolutely no hard feelings in handing it over to someone else. I think I think it's always delightful to see what new people do with it, and really lovely to see new teams coming together and sort of having a similar experience to the experience we had of doing it and making audiences laugh and stuff. I think you get very close as a sort of company doing that show, and so it's always joyful really to see new people come in and see as well as in London, like see people in other countries kind of having a similar experience, even though they speak a different language and come from a completely different sort of place. It's fun to be like, oh yeah, we sort of have a shared experience with you. That's interesting.
When I did a Play It Goes Wrong podcast a few months ago with 2 of the new cast members, they told me something that really shocked me, which I think is brilliant, that when they rehearse the show properly. Is it the House at Havisham Manor? They rehearse that, and then they rehearse it right before they rehearse it wrong. And I think that's genius. Like, how whose idea was that to make sure that was done?
We instituted that. We did that when we first. I can't remember the first time we did it, but when right from the beginning we were doing that in the rehearsal room back when we had Mark Bell directing us, and I think it was just a natural thing to do, because the whole point of clowning is that the whole point of the show is that it's things going wrong, and it can't go wrong unless you know exactly how it's supposed to go right. It has to go right before it can go wrong. And if you go into that show playing it as if it's a big comedy, as if we're here to just do jokes and make people laugh, it won't work. You have to go in with the intention of, we're here to do a murder mystery. We're here to shock and thrill and amaze, and then it will be funny when that doesn't happen. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's such an important part of the rehearsal. I think that's the big. I think that's the big misconception I think people have about that Goes Wrong stuff in particular, is that thinking it's, and obviously to the audience it's a comedy, but it's not a comedy to the Cornley Drama Society. I
think the layers that you have in your shows are what makes Mischief so successful, because from finding stuff out of that from behind the scenes, you're like, and that's why it's not a happy accident. They've worked meticulously at the craft with these extra layers that you don't even think about, and I think it's genius.
Thank you. It's very kind. It's interesting, isn't it? Because the Goes Wrong, because to audiences sometimes, for us, Goes Wrong stuff and Comedy About Spies is completely different. But to audiences, maybe not so much. It's a sort of comedy, and you don't think about it.
Everyone calls it Spies Goes Wrong.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But to us, we're they're completely different genres almost. Yeah. But it's interesting how I think it's some people just are it's one thing, but it's I think really important to know which language of comedy you're doing, so you come up with something that's comedically consistent.
I think you always surprise me, and you never run out of ideas. So I think Christmas Carol Goes Wrong was a great example of that. That model box at the beginning and all of the jokes that you got from that. I think the giant box of Maltesers may be my favourite thing I've ever seen on a stage. I just thought that I saw it still there at the theatre. They've got a bit of it behind the bar. And I was like, that's strange. But my God, I can't remember what I saw at the
Apollo.
Yeah, I was getting a drink. I can't remember what's at the Apollo. Oh, the Truth. And I was there and I was getting a drink. I was like, why is there the Maltesers prop there? They've got it in the corner, a bit of it.
They just kept it.
They stole it.
Yeah, they stole it.
I don't think it's a big giant box. It's a bit from it.
A piece from it.
Yeah.
Crucial piece. No wonder the joke didn't work on the same.
But my God, that is just incredible.
It's really fun. That's something we couldn't have done back in a sort of fringe theatre way. Something that is a big stage-filling thing. But we've sort of, I don't know, I think we were keen, because we love the Cornley characters so much, but the audience barely gets to see them because they're always playing other characters, right? You see, in the Play That Goes Wrong, you see Inspector Carter, you don't get to see much of Chris. I mean, you see a bit more of Chris than the others because you see Chris do the speech, but you don't get much of them. So we were keen to we've always done like backstage improv, and that's part of the process. So we feel like we know them very well. So it was really cool to be able to be like, well, let's see them do their auditions and do their rehearsals and what happens and all that kind of stuff. Plus, it absolutely gives you a whole extra layer of jokes because you can set things up that you couldn't otherwise do.
Have you ever had an idea that's just been too weird that you didn't ever bring it to the stage? Or you might have done once and that doesn't work?
We tried tons of jokes that didn't work.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big part of the process, is trying and failing.
Anything that says too weird?
Too weird.
I mean, because I feel Maltesers is giant Maltesers is weird.
Pretty
but
viable,
that's not how a normal brain works, but we appreciate it.
There was the big pig.
Oh, right, Bank Robbery.
Big pig in Bank Robbery.
Yeah.
I did get an outing.
Yeah.
Got to try. In fact, the whole beginning of Bank Robbery, actually, when we first opened Comedy About Bank Robbery in 2017, whenever it was, 2016, we had an entirely different opening to that show. It was about a 10-minute long sequence of a prison break where myself and Chris Leese were in a big bag, a giant sack that we were in. We were sort of rolling around.
They thought they were escaping.
Yeah.
But they were in a laundry bag and they thought they were escaping, but actually they were just in the warden's office.
Yeah.
And so they'd roll around the bag and a hand would come out of the bag and feel a rug and it would be like, it's grass.
Yeah.
I can feel the grass. And then there's like a fan and they were like, I can feel the cold wind on my face. And they thought they'd escaped. And they were just in the warden's office and the warden and all the guards were there. It was very funny, but I think it just was...
it was weird.
It was
small and precise and weird
for
the opening of a show to be like, we're really focused on this hand coming out of a thing in like a big theatre.
So I think maybe had it come later in the show, then maybe. But we did. I mean, we've done all sorts of weird things that were, sort of before Play That Goes Wrong. We did a show called The Buffoons, which was a show that we wrote for Edinburgh, and we had done because we'd loved clown at Lambda, we'd loved improv at Lambda, and we'd also done a thing called Bouffon, which is like an old comic style. And we did this show based on that, which is a much more kind of extreme form of comedy. That was a weird thing that I think probably best left in the past.
We've done lots of weird things. Our sketch show was weird.
That was weird. Yeah.
I loved that TV show. And just because every week there was something so different, you're like, it's going to get boring. No, every week there was the ideas. I just don't know how you keep coming up with them. You'd think that there'd be a limit, but you always find something new.
There may well be. We haven't found it yet. But that doesn't mean it isn't there.
In 40 years, when we do a follow-up episode.
Yeah. I mean, it may have been a blessing that we only did 2 series of that show because I don't know how many more ideas we have in the tank.
A couple more questions before we wrap up. Has anything changed? Anyone that saw Comedy About Spies last year, is anything different this year they can expect?
Yeah, we're always tweaking the shows, and we've added a whole bunch of new jokes into this one. There's a whole new sequence in a lift shaft where we have signs going by that we didn't have before. It's a big bit of kit that's been brought in. Tons of little jokes. We've got a great big new set piece corridor that adds a load of new gags and things. So if you've seen it before, it will be the familiar show, but you'll be surprised quite often, I think.
And has there ever been a time, it's an obvious question, where something has genuinely gone wrong for you on stage? Any particularly funny moments?
Many.
So many.
What would be what's your favourite one? The one I always say, but is when we were first doing Play That Goes Wrong at the Old Red Lion. There's a moment where I have to walk in. I'm supposed to burst in on Cecil and Florence kissing, and I say, "What the devil's going on here?" And I completely forgot my line. I came in and I said, I just sort of was like, there was a pause, and then I just said, "Well, if you'll insist, I'll leave." And then I left, and no one had insisted at all that I leave. In fact, I just entered, and they just looked at me. So it's a very, very odd sort of line to say. That was.
It's a really good one.
It's a really
Well, if you insist, I'll leave.
Just what the brain does when in slight panic mode. Just it was me being like, I know I have to get out.
We're going to wrap up.
Last question then. Why should people come and see the Comedy About Spies?
It is, I genuinely think it's one of the funniest shows that has ever been staged. It sounds incredibly arrogant, but I've never seen a show that is funnier than this one. Maybe I've not seen enough shows, I don't know, but I can't think of anything funnier. So I'm really proud of it, and I think everyone should see it.
Yeah, we are super proud of it, and I think it's such a blast to do, and I think audiences are really loving it. If you enjoy spy stories, it's got a really cool sort of spy story throughout all of it. Lots of twists and turns and surprises, and yeah, it's perhaps our most ambitious physical comedy show yet.
Well, brilliant. We'll break a leg for the rest of the run, and thank you so much for joining me, both of you.
Thank you very much.